A lot of domestic work, stoves, water heaters, all wiring for cow sheds, everything on dairy farms. We do some industrial work, installing air conditioning, and we've got into data cabling lately because nobody seems to be doing it in this area.
We run a heating business, which is all forms of heating, from gas-fired ducted central heating, flame effect fires and gas water heating, as well as wood fires.
Right, an estimate is when someone rings and they want to know approximately what something is going to cost. Is it going to cost $100 to put in a Tastic unit or $300? And you do it over the phone and you come in somewhere within 15 to 20% of the finished price. Whereas a quote is actually written down and posted out to them and they send it back to you before you actually attempt the job, and it is fixed at that. Even if it's just a washing machine repair, that is a verbal contract over the phone that they have contracted us and we have contracted to go and do the job. Sometimes they don't require a price because it's maintenance. They just accept that it's going to be X when we do it. But if it's a house alteration and they want a quote, there's two ways of doing quotes. We can do it by a measure, which is we get a plan and we measure it all up and we work out what materials we require. If it's a standard type operation like a Lockwood House or a Genian or a Golden Home, we have a unit rates, which we just go down a list and we tick that we're using 6 of these, 5 of these, 7 of these. And then I worked out a schedule over the years on what it's going to cost per unit to put in a power point, to put in a light, to put in a stove. And then we just tick our schedule and come up with a figure at the bottom of it. And when we do it on a schedule with a unit, a PowerPoint has the cost of the materials and the labour attached.
Does that include the sub-circuit wiring?
All the wiring that goes with it. Like with a light fitting, we've got 2 rates for a light. One is number 1 rate, which goes from the switchboard to the light switch and then to the first light. And then every subsequent light after that has got a cheaper rate.
Try to break it down and so they can see where the materials are as separate from the installation, but don't get too detailed, because the last thing you want is someone to start picking up the fact that you've allowed for some sort of switching component which they know the price of because they've just walked through Bunnings. You don't want them to start itemising things. So, not screwing Bunnings, but you can be fairly general. The word installation covers labour and sundry materials. Then you can separate your major components out. In some cases, the smaller jobs, we just say list everything, don't price anything until you reach the bottom and just pay for the total sum of.
The main thing you have to be sure of is that you're getting all the information, because if you get a job where a builder walks in with a piece of paper and says price on this, you can get caught out where there's not enough info on what the customer wants. And if the customer is dogmatic about things, they'll hold you to your contracted price, when in fact it's not what they wanted and it's not what they originally wanted. And knowing what type of wall cladding they're going to have and whether you need to bring in additional drilling machines, cutting machines, especially if it's an older restoration and it's a concrete building, or if you're working at height. It's unbelievable that once you get up on scaffolding, how slow a job takes. Most jobs you have variations. You'll get out to a job and while you're here, can you do this? And that's where it all changes. But even then, you still stick to your quoted price plus your variation.
In today's age, we're into computers. The best thing for your quote forms are to be on a spreadsheet. You can do your standard quote form, all preset. You can use your quote as in the form of a spreadsheet, so as you do your extensions and your totalings, it's automatic. You're not doing the adding. And if you're doing a quote for an alteration, save that spreadsheet, and if it's a standard one, save the quote I should say, so you can bring it up and use it as a template for future jobs. It's time saving, and also it's a good check on the next time you do a similar job that you're allowing for the similar sort of things.
Right, tools of the business are using a schedule, making sure that your pricing is right up to scratch, getting a decent set of plans. Now, doing a floor plan, if all the builder provides you is a floor plan of the site, you can get caught out in various places. If it's a large house, instead of a 2.4 ceiling, they can have 3 metre ceilings. Now, you start adding that up with a bit of wire, and you'll find out that you've got an extra 200 metres of cable in the place that you haven't allowed for. So that, and getting a set of plans which are actually to scale. If you start running a scale rule around at 100 to 1 and the scale is actually a 125 to 1, been caught out there, and especially when they come through over the facts. You've got to have decent paperwork with it.
Okay. So, what do you consider to be a good success rate if you're quoting for lots of jobs?
We have consistently, over the past 25 years, worked on 75% of anything that comes in, of getting 75%. If we're getting more than that, we realise that we need to look at our prices again, and we're too low. And if we're missing out, we must be too high.
Occasionally, there's what we call minor disasters. You've put out a quote, you've been in a bit of a hurry, and while you're looking after it, after the client's got it, you suddenly notice that either you've put something in, a large item at cost, or that you've actually left something out. At this stage, it's not a contract. They can't force you to take that quote. I would just go straight to them and say, hey, look, I've forgotten this. It's going to affect the quote, and this is it. If it's, on the other hand, you don't even pick it up until after you've started the job, that becomes a little more complicated because you're under the law of contract now. And the best you can do is say, hey, I've forgotten this, we're committed to this job, I would like, and make them aware of it. And it's best to be upfront, honest, and it's happened to us once, and they've agreed to say, yes, it was a genuine mistake, and they actually paid for it, even though we gave them a very good discount.
Yeah, we've had instances where we have done the electrical work and not got paid because the plumber hasn't finished the job or the painter hasn't finished the job. And those instances, we were held out for 9 months on our payments. That was $93,000 because the building leaked because the architect designed it wrong. Now that's a strange situation.
It's using you as a bank, really, isn't it?
Yep. And the particular firm that we were dealing with at the time are known for this, and we don't deal with them anymore because of that. Even though they offer us some lucrative looking jobs, we know that the people who have got the job have come unstuck. Yeah.